You're busy, you've got a decent practice, but nobody wants to be decent. You want to be great, and you want to have a great practice. So how did the most productive, profitable dentist in the nation balance real life, work, and profits, and somehow make it all seem fun? Well, it comes down to simple, everyday practices. So grab a lunch, join us as we chat with top clinicians and influencers to discover their formula for uncommon success. Are you ready? Then it's time to explore everyday practices.
Welcome everyone to our everyday practices. We're here with Regan Robertson. Regan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, coming to you live from my master bedroom in the San Juan Islands.
Why not? That sounds lovely, but how's the temps?
I don't know what it exactly is, but it's completely sunny, probably high 60s, I would say. It's warm here. I'm really happy. Got flowering cherry trees outside. It's gorgeous.
That's not bad.
No, can't complain.
Dr. Andy, have you guys had any snow up north in Minnesota lately, like this week?
Yeah, a couple days ago, then yesterday, not today. I think today we might get a wintry mix, and then it's going to start to warm up again.
Yep, we have flakes, and it's
we actually had we had a white Easter, I think.
Yeah.
I think, yes, it snowed all day on Easter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snow on Easter? Did the kids do Easter egg hunts or anything like that out in the snow?
Yeah, and hiding them was really easy. We just stood at the front door and just threw them randomly off into the snow.
Well, yeah, you'd have to, because otherwise you'd see little footprints everywhere, wherever you had them hidden.
Yeah, we did it indoors, actually. But there wasn't enough snow. They had to go around with a hairdryer and melt all the snow.
And the sad thing was they were actual chicken eggs, and so they were white on white. No, but hey, I wanted to read from your website the bio that you wrote. So in 2004, your wife and you started a general dentistry practice in the suburbs north of Twin Cities, Minnesota, and your practice has steadily grown. And you wrote, "We have had all manner of capers and triumphs and misadventures along the way," and that's what we're here to talk about. Is basically your plight through your dental entrepreneur life, through your experiences. You have slowly become wiser, you wrote. At least that is the hope. And when I read that, it kind of reminded me of your sense of humor. At least that is the hope. We have gotten to know each other very, very well, your wife and you. So tell me about your practice, just so that way the listeners can kind of know a little bit more about, your dental practice and stuff like that.
Yeah, my wife and I practice together, and during normal times, I think there's always that thought of like, should we add another dentist? And we're like, nah, no thanks. We spend a lot of time with each other, and we're aware of dentists have strong personalities, let's say. So we just continue year after year, and the practice has gotten busier and busier. As we continue, I believe in like wisdom and baggage are the same exact thing, except we deal with them differently, and we're trying not to pick up baggage.
Yeah.
Perspective, wisdom. Yeah. So have I answered your question? The practice, yeah. Let me say it like this. What I really miss right now and what I enjoy about coming to work is just coming in and seeing people, maybe 25 to 30 patients a day, and there are always 5 or 6 people working with us, our team, and it's just fun. There's a conversation going on all day, and the part I think I miss and I don't miss is I'm amazed at how many decisions I make in a day, and I'm aware of, I've always been, for a long time now, I've been aware that each little decision that I make wears me out a little bit.
Sure.
If I'm deciding, just going through the day, we make a lot of little decisions in general dentistry, and right now, with things being shut down, we're down to maybe 2 or 3 decisions a day. And I'm sleeping really well at night because I think it's that particular kind of fatigue wears me down.
It's called decision fatigue. It's a real thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's been really interesting. Like, how are you going to sleep when dentistry is shut down and the future is uncertain? In my case, pretty darn well. Natalie attends to more of the details of the practice. She always has. That's been her thing. And she has probably more things that she's still concerned about that are just more technical, having to do with bank accounts and HR stuff and the things that are still sort of alive in our practice, even though we're not practicing right now.
Well, every time that I get to talk with you, I miss the fact that, I'm reacquainted with you to miss the fact that normally I miss your quirky sense of humor, and I'm quirky just in a different way. And so it's fun to meet your quirky sense of humor. So I don't even know like if it picks up right away, or if it's also visual that I can see you on the screen and stuff like that, versus just listening to this as a listener to the podcast over the, like while someone was driving. But I hope people pick up that subtle, quirky humor that you're laying down. It's really good. It's refreshing.
Well, Chad, I'll know I've pushed it too far when we get the bacon or the eggs question. I'll be like, okay, we're done.
Oh, you are not getting that question. I'm throwing you a curveball. I'm sorry.
He does throw some surprising questions that way. Hey, Andy, you know that's like Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, and there's other folks who wear the same outfit every single day. Have you heard that they do that so that they can save decision brain power for another bigger decision?
Yes, I'm well aware. Yes, and I actually eat the same thing every day for dinner. I do.
Oh,
I automate as much as I can.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
A smoothie like every morning to kind of say like it's an easy automatic for me. Except since I've been working from home, my husband's been cooking the most amazing breakfast, lunch, and dinners for me. So I have really little motivation other than my team to go back to a physical office.
Right.
I like the idea of meals being served to me. Just makes me easier.
Before we started recording, Andy, you were telling us about, the thirds of a hiatus, the way that you see it. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, and the other day, I think the threat of showing up with a mohawk is probably more significant than actually showing up with a mohawk. But when we were messaging about this podcast, I was like, yeah, I might just show up with a mohawk, because that's what we can do in the middle third of a shutdown is, I think, let our, do those things that we never get a chance to do. I don't really want a mohawk that badly, and so I'm not here with a mohawk. I also thought it would be hilarious to show up for a podcast with a really carefully thought out look, because of course the podcast audio, but then you told me that we were going to be Zooming anyway for this, and like, well, okay, I'm not going to show up with a mohawk. But maybe now in the middle third of a shutdown, the first third is a very technical exercise. We spent a lot of time on the phone with the bank, and we're watching guidance from the American Dental Association and trying to understand just trying to get to know the new rules and figure everything out. There's not so much of that to do in webinars. Yeah, at first, I'm actually signed up for some webinars next week that you're a part of, Chad, and I'll show up for those. But I noticed about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I start signing up for webinars and then I don't attend them.
No information right now. But then again, I mean, what do you cut out? Some of it is just this necessary evil, if we call it that.
Yeah, and the final, I think, let's say final third, or where we're headed, because dentistry will reopen, it's going to be more technical again. It's going to be figuring out which kinds of patients we'll see first and scheduling and all these things. So right now, there's just less of that to worry about. Right now, it's like our whole team is not around. Everyone is scattered. It's like we've gone over a waterfall and we're all the little drops of water and we're all pretty far apart. Our patients we're all going over this together in some way. And we know we're eventually going to land and rejoin and become a single stream again. But right now we're just all kind of scattered to the four winds, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
well, yeah, so it does make sense, Andy. And in that same respect, I don't know how you're communicating with your team, but I know online you've been communicating with patients. And so for anyone listening, if you look up Andy Droel's Facebook, Andy and Natalie, that you guys have been doing some great videos, reaching out and connecting with your patients. So are you doing that with your team also? Are you talking with them, or how has that experience been for you, marketing yourself in a little bit different way while you're a little individual rain droplet coming down into the lake?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, we're in dentistry, we're so used to having so many little buttons that we can push, and we're so used to doing so many things all day long. And like making little decisions all day long, and there's just not that much to do. There aren't that many opportunities to engage with the world right now. So what can we work on? We can still work on relationships. And so we've had a lot of really nice ongoing exchanges with other dentists in the area, specialists. We have weekly meetings like that. We have a weekly Zoom meeting with our team where we just kind of hang around and talk. We've been doing that on Thursdays because then we can wear leopard prints because of the leopard print Thursday thing.
What's a leopard print Thursday thing? Is that a Tiger King reference that I don't?
Apparently this is a thing. Yeah, Amanda, our office manager, about maybe 6 weeks, probably 2 months ago, she said, yeah, we're doing leopard print Thursdays now, and people started wearing leopard print. So I started shopping for, leopard print socks, and I have a leopard print shirt now, and that's something nice that we can do together. So Thursday is a sensible day to have the office Zoom meeting and just hang around and talk for half an hour.
Andy, I do want you to know, I think you've been played. I don't think that's a thing. Well, just as long as you know that.
Oh, I'm happy to be played. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
So
I love it.
Andy, when you guys how did you come to go to a Productive Dentist Academy workshop? Like, where were you guys in your dentistry and in your life, and how did that come about? We
started up our practice in 2004, and the practice slowly grew. That's in our biography. And life continues, and things got busier and busier, and we slowly got smarter, hopefully, and accumulated some baggage, right? The practice reached a point where it was busy enough that it wasn't easy to figure out how to run it anymore. And we were still just trying to figure everything out on our own. And so we started looking around for guidance outside of our own little world and discovered Dr. Baird, a talk that he gave a few years ago at the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. And he hooked me first with scheduling and just how to schedule in a way that actually makes sense in terms of the doctor's time and reducing stress levels and being productive and all these kinds of things. Then we came to a PDA event last September, and it was we were kind of there to say thanks to Bruce because he was helpful just from listening to his talk and applying mostly having to do with scheduling, right? But the discovery there, I wasn't aware of you, Chad, until ending up in the same room with you. And wow, gee whiz, Dr. Baird, what he's actually doing here, he has a really good team. And there's a lot here having to do with the team. And this was in 2019. That was the year that we were starting to really discover our team kind of for the first time and get ourselves beyond the mindset of thinking we have to have all the answers ourselves as the doctor, owners, experts, whatever we are, realizing that we don't and we can't do everything ourselves. So that
or
was
you can
September,
only to ostracize the rest of your team, and that only gets you so far. So I think the trouble becomes that we think that we can do that, and in fact you can. If someone said, well, you can drive by pressing the brake and the accelerator at the same time, it's unfortunately, yes, you can. And the fact is people are going to try that, and unfortunately it'll kind of work. And so therefore people go, because it works, why fix it? And it's oh crud. It's a mentality shift to actually go, well, in spite of the fact that works is just being the dictator of the office, or just unilateral decisions, or everyone else is just going to have to jump on board. You decided, okay, this has been working for 10 plus years, and in spite of that fact, we're going to do something better.
Yes, and there's a plateau anyway. I think
of course
stress levels, I think from my own experience, they just keep going up when we try to do everything ourselves. And productivity, I think if we're just looking at dollars per hour or something, I think there's a plateau until we start asking for help from maybe a group like PDA, and definitely from our team. So I don't know, man, in the latter half of 2019, after witnessing the magic of PDA working together to take care of a room of dental people at PDA event, people come and ask me, I don't know, it would be in November or December, I think, if somebody from our team in the office came to ask me, what do you think, doctor? What should we do with this or that or some little procedural thing? The answer becomes, what do you think? And we didn't do a lot of that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worked really well. And it turns out people have some really good ideas. You all have some good ideas, and our people that we've worked with for years have some excellent ideas too.
Of course.
And we try things, yeah. I did, when dentistry closed itself down in whenever that was, a month and a half ago or whatever. Geez, it was only a month ago. One of the first things I did right away, within a day or two, I emailed Dr. Baird and Patty Soy, and I said, hey, both of you, thank you. We didn't realize that we were preparing for a shutdown by being more productive and just getting things in order like this, but I guess we were. That's my message with PDA. We're not even official consulting clients or anything. We've just gone and learned as much as we can at events, but it's been really nice. We've been doing pretty well financially as a practice and taking good care of our patients. And so I don't think we could have been better prepared, even though we had no idea this was coming. It just put us in a good position where 12 months ago or 24 months ago, if the same thing had happened, I'd be very panicky. So that's a real testament to PDA.
Your message with Andy, it's a beautiful, beautiful testament. It's a humbling testament. I think it's probably one of the few testimonies we've received where I feel like that's what we were put here to do, to help doctors. I mean, to have that reflected made us all really emotional. He actually read it out loud to us, to the whole company. And
okay.
And I was, he didn't say your name. He said, I just want to tell you what I received here. And, he did his Bruce Baird. Is that a good Bruce Baird? Sorry, Bruce.
It's not bad for a Reagan voice. Sure.
So, and in that, it made me feel two things, Andy. I was extremely grateful for how you feel prepared and grateful that PDA helped you prepare so that you, going into this, felt this way. Then I felt sadness for the other doctors and many people I know who haven't financially prepared. It's a little too late to say, well, you better get your stuff in order because that's, we're hearing it now. And I'm wondering, so have you known with like absolute certainty that we as a nation were going to go through this all a month ago, in March? What would you have done to prepare?
Yeah, I asked you that too, and I asked you first. But I've been thinking about this. It's a funny question. We were all in the same room on February 22nd or something, the last day of the event, right? And some magic genie with perfect credibility could have shown up in that room and said, hey, just so you know, on Friday the 13th in March, that's going to be a tough one. Things are going to be getting pretty weird. And what would I do? Would I guess we'd move some money between some different investment accounts and things like that. We'd worry a lot. We'd start hoarding hand sanitizer and toilet paper. I think we'd worry a lot. That's my biggest answer. If I had known this was coming, I probably wouldn't have slept until it happened. So yes. It's probably better that it happened gradually and not all at once. It happened all at once then.
You just pulled up something that I was hoping you were going to reveal. I had not thought about this before. I've had 2 children, and the first time when I went into labor, it was all completely unknown to me. I had never seen someone give birth, had never given birth myself, and there was what I realize now, probably a lot of anxiety that I didn't recognize as anxiety and worry, and just that feeling of I just want it to be on the other side. I can't sleep until this is done. So physically even, I didn't really move that much when I was pregnant. Like I tried to protect myself like a little bubble in anticipation and worry. Versus the second child, I was, let's go. There was no medication. There was nothing. I was walking like crazy. I kept working out because I knew what was going to happen. And I thought, I'm prepared this time because I've been through it before. Yeah. And when I was on a call this morning with one of my girlfriends and she was having this anxiety, she bubbled up to the surface and said, I've never been through something like this before. I'm a millennial and I was in school when 2008 happened. And I said, so she's never been through something like this before. And I said, well, yeah. I mean, knowing with absolute certainty, I think the same is true. I think I would have kicked myself for maybe not preparing financially if I hadn't, or patted myself on the back. And then you kind of take it as it comes. You take it as it comes. You filter out the, you know, the superfluous information and you know, pull in who's trusted, who's advising you. Like right now, Andy, you've got to be getting, I mean, I'm so grateful that you think PDA has been helpful for you. And to that testament, what have you done to kind of drown out that noise? Are you hitting every webinar? Like you said, you know, some of them you attend, some of them you don't. What's been helpful for you this past month?
Oh, absolutely. Just pointless cardio. You know, I go run on the trails with the dog for 65 minutes. Sometimes you two are there with me. I'm listening to your latest podcast. Sometimes I'm just listening to tunes or whatever. But I sleep late to help pass the time. Going back to what you said a moment ago, though, about getting ready to have a kid or getting ready to go through childbirth, something I can't relate to. I created a hashtag early on for my own amusement to sign some emails and stuff, and this is my first pandemic, because you know I guess I've never been through a pandemic before, and while this is sure new and different, and I don't know how to deal with this one, but over the next few weeks, realized I'm talking to Natalie, like, Natalie, hey, remember when we opened our second location and all we did was spend money for about 3 or 4 months, and the second location wasn't open? We were just kind of waiting around for it to get going, and I don't think we made a profit for 3 or 4 months at all. We were just kind of bleeding money. Well, that's a lot like this. So we've done this before. Or let's think back further to the time I was riding back to work over the lunch hour, because I ride my bike to work. Don't ask me how I did this. It's horrible. I hit a 2x6 that was sitting on the shoulder, like a board that I didn't notice, and flew off my bike and broke my collarbone. Wow. Originally we did a startup in 2004, and that was another time of like waiting. The future is very uncertain. We've actually kind of already done this. Chad, you did a startup.
Yeah.
Whenever that was.
2005, actually.
Does this remind you of a startup? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, and actually at the time, so I did it right out of school. And so I was preparing and waiting for myself to get my license in the summer, you know, and just going over to the office, making sure the construction was going good, picking out light fixtures and installing that. And then actually just sitting at my parents' pool. And that's actually when Sarah and I got to know each other really well. So it actually reminds me a lot of this time when, you know, family members and stuff like that are getting to hang out a lot more. It was kind of like speed dating in that, you know, Sarah worked evening shift. And so she would come out over about every day, it seemed, maybe every other day or something like that. And we had just been dating for, at that time when I got, like, let's say 2 months. And so we got a lot of dating in that summer because I wasn't open yet. So funny enough, it allowed for a lot of what ended up becoming family time. You know, me and Sarah being a family, and then also, yeah, with the practice, basically just bleeding money, but you're not even open yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, a difference here, I mean, a big difference for me, I think then during I guess our second startup, we had a team. The first startup, there were no other people. It was just Natalie and I. And of course, we spent a lot of time together. We were the team. Now we do have a team out there, and I just miss them so much. And we don't get to, like, if this would be the time to get together and rehearse, except we really can't. So that part is missing, and that part is, I've never had to do this particular thing before. Right before we went over the waterfall, it was, well, I can tell you it was March 12th. It was a Thursday before the Friday the 13th that was supposed to be the beginning of our spring break. I said to Brittany, our clinic lead, on the way out, I just had a feeling we were going over the waterfall. It just, you know, glancing at the news between patients, but here we were having a pretty normal day. And I said to her, I think this is going to be our last normal day for a while, because we were going to be closed that following week anyway for spring break. That, I'm kind of going off into the weeds now. But
oh, you're fine.
that was sort of our last normal day together. And I just remember kind of grabbing onto that and thinking like, yeah, I don't know what we're going to be doing next week.
Yeah.
See, I'm not going anywhere at this point.
No, but you
Edit this part out.
Yeah. No, but
Oh, it's
what
actually really good, Andy.
what you're saying is it was intuitive. That I called it basically like that was when I was the most nervous about it all, was are we going to close? And I remember explaining to Reagan and some people that it reminded me of a plane crash. And so like we're all on this plane and like let's say that one of the engines sounds like it's going bad, and it's like, oh no, are we going to have to do an emergency landing? I hope we don't have to do an emergency landing. And then all of a sudden, it comes over saying you are going to need to buckle up for an emergency landing. Then it's like, okay, well, this isn't a question anymore. Is this going to be an emergency landing? So what you described as going over the waterfall and a free fall, for me, I was like, all right, so we're basically to emergency landing now. So basically everyone buckle up, brace up, and mentally prepare, not just physically prepare, but mentally prepare for the fact that it's like, we're not going to be questioning, like, are you going to close? It's like, you are now closed. Okay, well, now what? And that made me a lot more resolute. I think then at that point, it's like, well, if you were on the plane and you were at the bathroom, it's just like, well, you're going to have to hold it, buckle up. It's time to, like get ready for impact and whatever that meant. And that made me a lot more resolute to be like, all right, well, let's start figuring out what's our game plan.
Yeah, I encourage you to strike the plane crash from your thinking and go to the waterfall, because that plane that crashes never goes up in the air again. Right? That plane is not going to be flying again.
Oh,
I guess maybe with some kind of, right? Yeah.
Analogies always have a point where they don't fit, right? But at the same time, you could say, for me and my plane, that's when I was like, fine, I'm going to grab the wheel and I'm going to, like try and at least navigate this for a controlled crash, because crash as it may. But then again, I mean, like I said, every analogy has a failure. I mean, you could say, well, shoot, it's not quite, life didn't pan out quite like a plane crash. You didn't die. And it's like, well, fair enough. But that's how it felt for sure. I was just like, well, I mean, at this point, there's no questioning, like, are we going to have to land this plane? It's like, you better start looking for a body of water, Sully, because this is going down. Yeah.
I think I see it different from both perspectives. And
for sure.
Kind of in the two, I love Andy that you said kind of in the middle, like there's the beginning, the middle, and we're still in the middle, before the end part. All the different career iterations or growth path or whatever you want to call it that I've had. I started out in publishing when the internet was just taking off, and watched publishers act like it was, one, no big deal that the internet was existing, and two, it wasn't really important that we be on there. Then it switched to, okay, we should probably be on there, but we have to pay for it. It's going to be, we got to gate our content. And so they got drowned in it, and watching them not adapt to it, I think was so important and crucial for me at such a young age to know that you have to adapt. You still have value, just how are you going to do it differently? So, with returns to like PDA, it's more of a Wild West kind of excited feeling of, there's a lot of value. How do we adapt and meet people where they're at? So for patients, I've watched dentists adapt and meet patients where they're at. So I think teledentistry is going to be huge. I think that'll take off. I know in some states you can't do it. So, but there will be different, more efficient ways to meet patients where they're at. And so I see it as a time of opportunity. And it is really important, though, leopard print or not, to stay connected to all your water drops, to kind of pull it through together. Because there are some, uncharted times you've seen that are furloughed, and Natalie's stressing probably about all the HR and all the different loans and things right now. So there's toughness that comes with it. You have to be resilient.
Well, the big question I'm asking now is, what are people going to be looking for? Our patients and our teams, what are they? It's kind of what you ask dentists at PDA in different ways. What do you want to be known for? Mm-hmm. What people were looking for a certain thing in January of 2020, and I had that I understood, like, I know what patients are going to ask me about to a certain degree and so on. And I know it's going to be different now, but I don't know what they're going to be looking for exactly, but I'm trying to ask that question to meet those needs. Like the first day that we reopened, that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I mean, a common theme in webinars and stuff is like, let's be so ready. Let's be so perfectly ready for that first week back that it's probably going to be the best week of our lives. It's like being a senior in high school and getting ready for prom or something. And it might not be that great. We might just be tying up loose ends for people that have been waiting for 10 weeks to get something squared away and it's been driving them nuts. That might be all we accomplish that first week for our patients. For our team, we might just be having a lot of conversations about safety and isolating ourselves from each other and patients so we can practice safely, so they can feel safe coming to work. And I think that's different from what was on people's minds in the middle of January of 2020. Chad, have you thought about this? Or Reagan, like, what are patients going to be looking for?
Well, yeah, you're right. Your first day is probably not going to be, 2 veneer cases, right? For us, because people aren't necessarily, as if I even have to say this, but people aren't going to be saying, how can I blow $6,000 real quick just to have a prettier smile, right? No one's going to be saying, like, I've been really concerned during this COVID time about my facial aesthetics, especially my incisors, whether subconsciously or not. So,
or these interferences that, My MI doesn't
look. Chad, or you're thinking about your incisors?
No, I don't even think that they're going to subconsciously be thinking about that. Their main concern is I have a broken tooth, or at best, what I've said is we need to prioritize periodontal therapy patients. So our SRPs, our perio maintenance, stuff like that, to get people back on track and check whether they are back on track or whether they've fallen off the wagon and we need to redo some SRP, and getting those people in priority as opposed to someone with a prophy mouth, let's call it, that it's just like, just clean up, check out, see you later. That kind of stuff. Those people kind of need to take a backseat to the population that needs and wants, I should say, to have periodontal therapy done. So that's been like on the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, from a patient's perspective, I would say I was due for my scheduled cleaning a couple of weeks ago. That's obviously not going to happen. So I'm a very, very picky person, but I go in for cleaning every 3 months just because I can and I want to, and so it's driving me crazy as just for the regular cleanings. And I think you're right, Chad. Is that going to take priority? Clearly not. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, how long am I going to have to wait so that my doctor can get through all of the cases? And then on the flip side, Andy, I am for certain doing Invisalign now. And it has made me go from, I really want it to, it's a must. I can't wait. Yeah, Chad's going to do my Invisalign.
Yeah.
A good excuse to fly to Iowa and see all my veranda people.
That's right.
So actually this particular event has even made me run more towards dental care as opposed to away from it, because I want a good bite. I want to be healthy. I want to take care of myself.
Reagan, as you're a non-dentist, I think you brought up something that I wanted to bring up anyway. I think there are a lot of patients who just really like coming in and having their checkup and getting that tartar buildup cleaned up their bottom front teeth, right? And I think it was something that I kept seeing when the American Dental Association was putting out guidelines for us during closure, what is an emergency and what is not, and so on. I'm like, wait, you guys, well, do you happen to know it's Oral Cancer Awareness Week right now?
No.
That's the other stuff too.
No, yeah. Who's talking about that?
I am. Nobody else is, right?
Good
because
for you.
Those are the other things. Yeah, well, but I can't do anything about it. Those are the other things that we don't think about. We do things besides wield a handpiece and scan for Invisalign trays. There are things besides procedures that we do for our patients, right?
Do you know, actually yesterday I did a biopsy. And the day, that day I had someone else come in that their oncologist wanted me to check for if they have any dental infection, because if not, they're concerned that the patient has metastasized some of their lesions. And so they wanted to have that checked out. And so again, it's not just cleanings and stuff like that. We're helping oncologists. We're helping, the patient that I did a biopsy on has a history of cancer. And so that patient is kind of at a higher risk for us needing to make sure that this spot that hasn't gone away is not an issue for them. I don't think it will be, but like, I'm glad that we're checking that out for that patient,
So we are a resource to patients. It isn't just about us wanting to pick up our handpiece and start drilling teeth again.
Exactly.
But we forget that.
Here's another
we focus
thing.
on the things we do.
The week before was National Dental Hygienist Awareness Week or
Celebration Week, right?
Yes, recognition week. So that's another one where like we basically the week was closed and so we didn't really think about it all too much, but how unfortunate that we kind of just skipped over that. So if anyone's listening to this, you might want to just pretend like it's still a thing and just say, hey, in honor of National Hygienists Week, we wanted to, to celebrate our hygienists, and that'll be a good team building kind of thing, And it brings me to the trick question. It's not bacon and eggs.
Okay.
Are you ready? You have to choose one or the other the rest of your life, Prince or Dylan.
Easy. Bob Dylan.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. And Reagan, we had a treat by having Andy on. And at some point, we'll try and get Natalie to be brave enough to join.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say thanks, Dr. Andy Droel. And so everyone can look up the practice name and stuff like that. Is it Droel Family Dentistry?
Droel Family Dentistry.
Yep. So DROEL for those that are driving and want to visualize it. Everyone listening today to the Everyday Practices, I appreciate you coming on with us today. And Dr. Andy from the state that brought us spam, thank you very much.
Minnesota.
Thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be on your podcast.
Bring your lunch or take us to the gym again next week to improve your everyday practices. Also, subscribe on iTunes, follow us on social media, and sign up for our email list. Now get out there and win with Everyday Practices.